When you play the Game of Thrones, you
Subscribe and like.
or you die. There is no middle ground.
Alright, hello YouTube, and welcome back to the Grease Goblins YouTube channel. In today's video, we are going to be talking about why did Aegon actually end up going to Westeros instead of the original plan, which was kind of to go to Daenerys and end up marrying her and then come over with her. But before we get into the video, if you guys like to like, subscribe, and comment, please do. It helps the channel grow and reach our people that might like this content as well. And let's get into the video. So, Jon Con and Aegon, or young Griff and Griff, the original plan was they were going to take this little boat and they were going to kind of go and find Daenerys. Now, at the point where they were going to do this plan, they thought that she would be coming west. Dany does not end up going west, as we know. She goes to Meereen and then decides to rule Meereen. Kind of a weird decision, really. I mean, it makes sense with Daenerys' character, but from everybody on the outside looking in, very odd decision. But the original plan is you have young Griff, and they, along with kind of Septa Lemore and some of these other figures, take Tyrion, and they're going to go to Daenerys. Now, Tyrion, along on this voyage, decides, hey, young Griff, why go to Dany when you can go to Westeros? Because there's a lot of things going on right now that would make sense for this decision. One, meeting Daenerys, you're not really going to be on the same terms, right? Daenerys is a queen. She's gone through a lot. She's been, raped. She's been just in a very, very bad place in the past. And when you look at it from the point of view of young Griff, who's been hidden his entire life and has kind of lived in very much kind of privilege, I guess Dany would look at it from. And I just don't think that Daenerys would straight up marry Aegon. Even though this was very traditional, what the Targaryens would do, it doesn't seem likely that this is what Daenerys would do. And also, Daenerys, by the time Aegon would have gotten there, would have been married already anyway. So, looking at Tyrion's advice, Tyrion says, hey, go to Westeros, kind of, with the Golden Company, conquer a little bit, take a castle, take this or that. It doesn't matter if you take over the entire Seven Kingdoms, but when you and Daenerys end up actually meeting, you'll be on more equal terms. It won't be like you begging for her hand in marriage. It's going to be kind of like a mutual thing that makes sense. I still think that is kind of at play, I guess, in wins, but I think it's going to be a different route. I just don't think it makes sense for Aegon and and Daenerys to marry, because I think a lot of the conflict would kind of end. And I think Daenerys and Aegon are two very different characters, especially because I think Aegon's actually a Blackfire. He's not actually a Targaryen. But when you look at all of those kind of situations where I think it does actually make more sense for Aegon to conquer Westeros than it does to go to Daenerys. Daenerys at this point is not in a good place. Daenerys just kind of has everyone against her in Essos. She really has no allies. She's being blockaded at the ports. She's had, the Yunkish are coming to attack her, along with some sellsword companies. And Daenerys can't control the dragons, so they're not really been a factor. Like, Daenerys at this point is very much outnumbered. And the city is starving, and also the city is just not unified. And also, you don't know what Daenerys is trying to do, right? Aegon, it's very clear that they want to crown him, make him king, and go to Westeros. They're not here for all this Slavers Bay stuff. So it doesn't really line up with a lot of the kind of things going on with young Griff and Jon Con. Also, another problem was going to be, okay, well, if they arrive there with the Golden Company, and Daenerys doesn't marry him, Aegon can't be king. And also the other problem is Daenerys is going to be like, well, this dude has more of a claim than I do, where this whole time she's been thinking that she's the one that should be ruling. It's her, right after Viserys dies. And then it's not really, because on the face value of it, Aegon has the higher claim because he's a male, and he's also Rhaegar's child. So in line of succession, it would actually be Aegon. And that would be a interesting dilemma for Daenerys, which I think we're definitely going to see in wins. But for me, I think it makes more sense for Aegon and Griff to end up going to Westeros. We see that they end up landing in the Stormlands, and they somehow actually take Storm's End. I've done a video on that before if you want to see that in the past. I will probably have a card of it right now. But more or less, that's kind of why on that front that they chose to go to Westeros. Now, alongside of that, Westeros in general is in a very weak position at the moment. You have to think, Cersei, for the most part, is ruling with Tommen, a boy king, on the throne. The Tyrell and Lannister alliance is very much not there. The Dornish are plotting pretty much open rebellion at this point. The Vale is very much up in the air. We don't know what's going on, kind of how the whole story has been. We don't know what they're going to do, right? Littlefinger's now in charge. How is that going to line up, right? And then we also have the kind of hidden figure of Varys. What is Varys going to do to end up helping Aegon? We've already seen him killing Kevin Lannister, Maester Pycelle. I've done a couple videos in the past where I've been talking about how Tyrion Lannister and also Edric Storm are going to be used kind of as puppets to try and get those regions to support Aegon. And then we also have to talk about the North. The North is not going to be an impact during this time because the North is going to be doing their own civil war at this point with Roose Bolton and then also Stannis. And the Riverlands, they've been so beaten down and defeated, I really don't think they're at play either at this point. So with all this being said, this is a very opportune time for one united force that is Aegon's force and Jon Con's force to attack and destroy the Seven Kingdoms. And there's a lot of opportunity, or not destroy, but unite, I guess, the Seven Kingdoms. And we look at all the opportunities there are for possible alliances. I've already talked about Sansa marrying young Griff makes a lot of sense politically for Littlefinger. Now, for Sansa, it doesn't make much sense because Sansa probably would not want that. She's already been trying to be, or he'll have already tried to betroth her to people that she doesn't know or doesn't really want to, even though she did like Joffrey at the beginning. Arianne is, I think, the most likely candidate who's going to get with Aegon, so the Dornish. So now you have the Dornish plus the Golden Company. It's, you know, a lot of possibilities for alliances. And Aegon coming over first and being the first person there is going to give him a lot of leverage and or respect from possibly Daenerys. Because Daenerys, if they were to try and do this marriage thing later on, Aegon would be able to say, you know, he's a king, he's on the same equal ground, he has a castle like Storm's End, he's conquered a bunch. I think he's going to end up taking King's Landing by the end of Winds of Winter. So for all those reasons, I think it logically does make sense that Aegon goes to Westeros. Daenerys, I think, logically is going to end up beating Aegon and this kind of faction, just because logically it makes sense with the dragons, the Unsullied. She's probably going to have the Dothraki when she comes over. But with all that being said, that is the video. Let me know what you guys think. If there's anything I missed on why Aegon would have wanted to come to Westeros now instead of going to Daenerys and all of that stuff. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.
If you think this has a happy ending, you haven't been paying attention.